Thanks for getting ready with us. Today's discussion will be on credit confidence with Afia Darko. She is the head of Sanlam Credit Solutions, and Adele Barnard, who is an award-winning financial advisor. We will be speaking on leveraging your credit profile for generational wealth from a millennial's perspective. So speaking about generational wealth, the data shows that 51% of Gen Xers and millennials on the SES dashboard are high risk, which means their credit score is below 75%. What does that actually mean for them?
Yeah. So the way in which we determine sort of a high risk profile is the amount of credit that you've taken out and your ability to sort of repay the credit that you've taken out, as well as the type of credit that you take out, right? And so what that basically means, because your credit profile, like I mentioned earlier, is actually for the credit provider, for them to be able to test your legitimacy in being able to take out further credit. So if we see that you're at high risk, we are cautioned about giving you any additional credit, right? And that's because you've basically proven that the credit you already have in your profile, it's a bit a lot, right? And the way in which you need to manage it needs to be different in order for you to be able to repay it. So you're not in a position where you start to default on your credit repayments, right? And the reasons why Gen X's and millennials are sitting in this position is because of, I'm gonna run it down to two things. It's the exposure to credit and the ability to take out credit, right? So the exposure to credit is now you can take out a store card, a credit card, a home loan, a vehicle, a personal loan with 3 different or 4 different banks. Whereas with our baby boomers, like our parents' generation, you'd need to physically go walk into a bank, take all your documents with you. You need to speak to a bank manager. They would need to be able to understand that entire process has gone away with. Now you go onto your app, you go, oh, ping, you get a notification, you can take out credit, right? Yeah. Also, the amount of credit we can take out now is up to 350,000 Rand.
Yeah.
So millennials and Gen Xers are exposed to more credit, more of it, more ways to get it, and more ways to spend it.
Of course.
And that's why they're sitting in this position where they are high risk. And on the Sanlam dashboard specifically,
yes,
we rate you based on percentage because we believe it's just easier to understand than a random number. You know, you're sitting at a high risk level. And that's basically for you to identify, hang on, wait, maybe I need to relook at the types of credit I'm taking out and if I'm repaying it in a responsible way.
And have you seen a difference between women and men in terms of the risk profiles? Like, are women more at high risk or men more high risk? Is there any sort of difference?
I wish there wasn't, but unfortunately there is. We are seeing that more men are actually on our platform, right? We've seen a slight shift, especially over the last year, where men are looking at their credit profile a little bit more. But what we are seeing is that women are a little bit more over-indebted and have more risk and have higher, riskier type of credit agreements. So for example, what we're seeing is like when you're looking at a profile for a man, he has majority sort of more solid credit. So we're talking vehicles, we're talking a home loan, we're talking a personal loan. Whereas with our female clients, we are seeing that they have credit cards and store cards and revolving credit plans. Yeah, so we are seeing those differences.
Okay, so those could also lean into societal pressures, perhaps, you know, why women are taking out credit, like in terms of store cards, and men are taking out vehicles. Like, do you see anything in?
I think also it's about surviving the cost of living. So yes, I'm not taking away from, you know, we want to keep up with the Joneses and have the latest and secure the latest bag on credit, which we do not recommend. But definitely I think, or I see it coming through daily where, you know, the consumer's under pressure, the client or the member is struggling to survive. So we're utilizing forms of credit just to survive. So I think that's also forms very strongly part of the conversation.
Yeah.
100%. You know, a lot of research has gone on about, you know, what do households look like in South Africa?
Right.
And we are seeing a more female-led households in South Africa. So if females are having to lead households, they're having to use credit to be able to survive the cost of living crisis that we currently have. So, you know, maybe the reason why women aren't taking our vehicles is because they actually, like, that's a moment in time purchase, whereas they need to put food on the children's backs. They need to put food on the table. They need to keep the
fees.
lights on.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you have a car, but you can do that if you have a credit card.
Absolutely.
Right? So
that makes sense.
And to your point, Adele, we don't know why credit is being used, but we are understanding that what the demographic situations are and what households are going through. And we can kind of make some assumptions around that.
Okay, so speaking of females being quite like, there's been a shift of women, taking over households and looking after the kids and putting food on the table, etc. Obviously you have to build some financial resilience. Obviously curveballs will come at you and all of those things. How do you see people dealing with that? How do you plan? How do you save? Make it work?
I think for me the main thing is that we're seeing the change, and we need to enforce it even more and empower the ladies even more, right? Because if I think back when I started my career, so typically we'll think of financial advisors there for policies or will, but the conversation from my end, I've always driven much bigger. I'm like, look at what is your credit score? What does that tell you? Because that's your financial reputation. Tie it in along with your budget, which is the heart and soul of your finances. And the key is for me with a female specifically is to say, if I'm in charge or I understand my finances better, I can do better. I can bounce back. I can look at my options to utilize credit to my benefit, that it doesn't have a negative connotation. And also, if I know what's going on with my finances and my credit, it gives me options to leave that relationship or job or whatever the case might be, to assist me and to take care of myself currently, but as well as my future self.
Yeah, I really love that you said that. You can take care of yourself because you have options. Yeah, that's so important. So credit really does give you options. How do you use that in a positive way? Because I think people think about credit and they think about it negatively. You know what I mean? How do you change that perspective for them to see it in a positive light?
So the thing is, I think we were raised to stay, and this now differs across the different generations. And I think if you think back, I love the example earlier, for example, if my grandma had to lay by because credit was weighed differently. And for example, my mom would have had more access to credit. Okay, even though, just disclaimer, she's very conservative. And now I am overexposed to credit, and we're such a consumer-driven nation.
Yeah.
So if it's all the time around me, I'm so influenced. And that's why it's important to know, chat to your financial advisor, who's your accountability partner. Sign up for your Sanlam Credit Solutions, but not only sign up, drive it and look at it daily and to understand what does this actually mean? Because at the end of the day, the more we know, the better we can do for ourselves. To give us those options. So I think that's why for me with these financial talks, that I know, okay, I've got peace of mind at the end of the day with what is going on in my finances, whether it's the policies, my budget, holistically, not in isolated events, altogether.
We try to be gentle about these things, right? Because we understand that talking about finances is really challenging for some people. But in all honesty, over and above the fact that Gen X's and millennials are using credit more and more, and the different types of credit that they're using are more aggressive in the sense that it's credit and stuff. There's no way to know what they're spending their money on, right?
Yes.
There's absolutely no way. So we're hoping that they're spending it on fuel and clothes for their kids. But you never know, because with this Instagram life that we all seeking to, the TikTok life that we all admire, we have to now look the part. So, like if you wanted to get an installation, you needed to go to a salon and you needed to sit there and someone needed to do your hair. Now you can order it off of Shein, get the wig cap, get it your head laid, go outside. Like, it is so easy to use credit, and unfortunately, millennials have more and more exposure to this lifestyle, and they just want to align, like you want to look good. And because it's so easy, I mean, we went from like, if you wanted makeup, you needed to go and you needed to sit in one of those chairs in the mall and someone had to do your makeup. Now you can walk into Mimi Q and she's got you.
Exactly.
Like you could do it now. And I think it's becoming more accessible, but it is costing more money. And unfortunately, if you're using credit in that way, it does lead to long-term financial problems.
Yeah.
And it becomes problematic on that note because from a financial advisor perspective, the clients start lapsing their policies. That's the first thing to go is the insurance. And that's what you really cannot afford to let go because your insurance is specifically, to protect and cover yourself.
Yeah.
So
That's your buffer that you basically
exactly
can go off.
Exactly.
And that's the unfortunate thing we've seen. So in the debt counseling world, when you're asking someone to go through their budget, because that's the first thing you have to do. You have to understand where someone needs to spend their money, right? That is number one. Before we even talk about your credit repayments, what do you need to spend your money on? And it's usually like a roof over your head, food in your belly, one bed to sleep on, clothes on your back, right?
Yeah.
Simple things. And a lot of the times, you asking them, okay, what are you paying towards medical aid? Nothing. What are you paying towards a funeral? Nothing. What are you paying towards nothing? Right? But they have 5 kids or that you're looking after their ailing mother. And you're like, but if you don't have this cover, what happens now that you've maxed out every single credit card, you can't take out another loan? What happens when something happens?
Yeah.
You don't have that short-term cover, but you have the car.
Ooh.
You get into the accident. Now,
Where are you going to go?
Where are you gonna go?
And I'm thinking on that note of funeral, and please, it's not shade to anyone, but now it's the GoFundMe.
People, I think they need the shade.
But when it's the GoFundMe or sharing a bank account because I don't have the money for a funeral, or now I need to use a credit card if I've got credit still left to pay for a funeral. So, and that's where we come in, and the advisor will be like, please, you need to keep your policies, you need to keep it active and look at your finances holistically at the end of the day. So not just policies, budget and my credit profile separately, all together. I mean, the platform is so fantastic for that.
Right, because it keeps it all in one place. Because if we continue to look at these things in isolation, we forget that one actually helps and leverages off of the other in order to make
100%.
your full financial profile make sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to look at your policies as a separate thing that you can come and go as you please, you forget that the impact on it will affect your budget, which will then affect your credit profile. And if you're not looking at all of it in unison, you'll end up making temporary decisions that will have a detrimental long-term impact.
Absolutely.
Wait, so you said something and it just had all these alarm bells go off in my head. You said debt counseling. So you're talking about helping people who are in debt and you're saying they don't have a funeral cover, but they have the vehicle or whatever. I am so afraid of debt counseling. I'm like, I don't want to get to a position where I need to have debt counseling, but is it a good thing? What is debt counseling? Because I feel like people are afraid of the word debt counseling, or I am.
No,
is it a black mark over your name? Can you not get credit? What does it actually mean? Or are you just helping someone, you're advising someone? Can you get debt counseling without being, a high risk person? Can you just, what is debt counseling?
So debt counseling is a formal legal process that basically allows you to repay your debts at a more affordable rate that fits within your budget, right? So if we throw away all the jargon, basically, legally, there was something was drawn up to say, if people cannot afford, how does the bank not lose out and how does the person not lose out? So how do we make it fair for both of these parties, right? And the way in which it works is because they renegotiate the interest rate so that at least the credit provider can get back what they lent you.
Right.
And then it also saves the consumer because they're not having to repay a smaller amount over a long period of time with all of this added fees and all of that stuff, which ends up becoming just extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So the reason why debt counseling is a negative thing is because there is a mark on your name.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And the reason why there's a mark on your name is because what debt counseling is supposed to do is it's saying, hey, look, unfortunately, life either was hard and you made some challenging choices, or you actually didn't know how to manage your finances and you went buck wild and now you're in a situation. So what we're saying to you is come home. When you
it's like tech stock.
I come home, when you move out and you overspend and you're like, oops, actually, mommy, can I move back in? I need to not pay rent for a few months so that I can just regain myself, not pay for groceries. I kind of just want to get. So debt counseling is a come back home moment, right? Come home. What we're going to do is we're going to say you're not going to take any of the credit that you've taken out before, which has caused this problem.
Yes.
Now repay what you already have. Repay it till it's done.
Got it.
And then we will release you. and then you go off back out into the wild.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But the reason why it runs over a long period of time, the 5 to 6 year period, is because we want it to become a habit. Because the problem is, if you just let someone pay off their debts and then they go, cool, done, they're going to repeat it.
Gotcha.
Right? A bad behavior doesn't get released.
Gotcha.
You need a new learned behavior. And their counseling allows you to have a new learned behavior. When you stick to a budget, when you repay off the debts that you have, where you are enforced to pay your policies again, because we make sure there's credit life, we make sure there's life cover, we make sure there's funeral cover, and then you repay all your debt, you've now had a new learned experience. You know how to go back into the world as a grown-up.
Hopefully.
And you just make better financial decisions, right? Because now you know what it's like when you're restricted, where you can't go out past 10 p.m. and your mother's asking you, where are you going? And every time you open the fridge, she's like, are you paying for that? You know, like,
Now there's food at home. There's food at home.
now you have freedoms again, right? But you know how to be responsible about those freedoms because you know what it's like when you overspend, right? And debt counseling is such a beautiful process if it's done well, because it does save the person, right? It's a rehabilitation, and it's a redemption. And once you're done, you can start again, and you can do it more positively, in a more controlled way, in a better way.
Okay. I think also it has unfortunately such a negative connotation. You've painted it so beautifully for us, and like you said, I think often for clients when it's gone too far and they didn't got the necessary advice or they don't know, that is the way to go. That's the way to bounce back. And like you mentioned with the fees, it's a more consolidated view of doing things, and making sure you're ticking all your other boxes, because you still have financial goals and objectives. You want to have your financial portfolio in place with your policies, your investments, your savings, buying property again, or whatever is on the cards. So from my end, I'm a big advocate of it.
Yeah, that's really nice that it's not like, oh, what was me, my life is over.
Not at all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no,
you can
not at all.
still...
I think the stats are something like 3,000 people clear from debt counseling every month.
Every month.
Every month. So as people going under the process of their counseling, right? People are coming out of that process.
Wow.
And it's because they've walked that journey. They've figured it out. Also, like if you get a 13th check, if you get a bonus, if you get married and now your spouse is willing to support you in repaying off your debt, you could pay it off in a much shorter period of time. You are not bound to 5 years. You're just bound to repayment. Right? As long as you pay it 100%. Then you're clear. You could do it in 6 months, you could do it in 7 years. It's up to you and your financial situation.
Okay.
Because it also needs to be sustainable.
Right.
Going on a diet and doing like a quick Beyonce diet, you lost your weight in 10 days and it's going to come right back.
1,000,000%.
Right?
Right.
I love that, Afia, because I think for me, when I sit with clients as well, and I love a budget, and and it's our least favorite word, and I think along with credit, and the diet one is such a good one, because I think often we have this instant gratification and things must happen quickly. So I'm on a diet today and I want to lose 10 kilograms tomorrow. It's not how it works. It's a process with our policies, with our financial plans, and managing our credit.
You spoke and you touched on having or marrying someone that can help you with the debt counseling. But what if you marry someone and they come with a lot of debt that you maybe didn't even know about, and now you find out about it in the relationship? What do you do, or what have you seen? What's the possibilities? Do you help? How do you help this person out of it? How do you get married if you know about it beforehand? Like, is there a way not to get married in community of property? All of those sort of things. Like, is it things you need to think about when you think about credit?
Important things to do is to have a conversation about finance. Like, when you are marrying someone, you're going into a bond with them, right? It's this like long-term, forever relationship.
Gotcha.
So finances are just as important as as family planning. Like, do you want kids? How many kids do you want? Like, what schools will our kids go to? Well, kids are gonna come with a financial implication. So you need to think about having those conversations. Not think about it, you need to have the conversations. The conversations aren't hard, right? So the conversations are very comfortable, very easy. And I think it's so important to just play open cards with your partner, because I think it's just easier to then start planning for your future.
And you also don't want to only realize when your partner's gone, you're like, oops, look at this big mess. And now you're owning community of property and it's a joint estate. So, I'm also liable. So I think that these conversations are so important. One, for yourself to make sure you're okay, like they say in the airplane, like save yourself first.
Oxygen mask first.
But absolutely for your partner, and especially more so if there's kids or it's a blended family, because like life or death, you wait for no one. So it's important to make sure, should I also pass away today, are my affairs in order? Will my credits and debts be settled from my point of view? Yeah.
Adele, so you are recently engaged.
Yes.
Have you had that conversation with your partner? Have you guys sat down and spoke about credit?
Yeah, absolutely. We bought property actually before we got engaged. So it's so important, and I cannot stress it enough, the importance of your partner or your spouse and having that conversation, because life and people can show you flames, and it can go both ways, male, female, or however. So luckily I secured a good one.
A good one.
No, but honestly, it's very financially responsible, and we've got a very open conversation. And I think the one thing, or the biggest lesson I've learned between the two of us is, and obviously I see it in my practice and with clients every day, is our financial history, right? And the way we were raised. Those things play such a massive role when you start doing joint finances or living together, and shapes the conversation. And once you understand each other better in that sense of where, you will also understand where that person is coming from, why they're spending the way they do, or why do they value a certain thing and you don't necessarily. So I think, it's about, it doesn't have to be such a tough conversation if you use the right tools and tone. Tone is important, but especially with the right tools we can equip you with.
Yeah. And speaking of tools, I mean, how can we leverage the dashboard, the ACS dashboard, to help us have these types of conversations with our partners?
Yeah. So the Sanlam Credit Solutions dashboard, obviously it's your dashboard, right? So you get to log in on it by yourself, but we have this ability to download as a PDF. So you can download as a PDF, your partner can download as a PDF, and you can have a conversation. Share profiles, talk about like the elements of the profile that maybe speak out to each other more. And to Adele's point, like talk about your history and then why is it that your credit profile looks a specific way. So these are then also, you have a budget section. So you can create your budget and you can share your budget with your partner.
Yeah.
You can explain to them why you specifically want a certain line item to be what it is. So those are the conversations that you can have based on the tool that Credit Solutions has built.
That's really cool, because honestly, you're saying like print it out and you guys have a look at it. Like, oh my word, like my biggest fear. Like, are you joking? Like, I don't want someone to see like what's happening in my credit life, but it makes so much sense. Even when you were like, the budget and looking at the line items. Yes, of course, because if you are going to be living together or sharing finances, you have to budget together.
But you can romanticize it, like make a money date.
Oh my God.
That's so cute.
So have a cappuccino, have bubbly, well, if you deserve it. But I think that's where it goes, because I think, one, we don't want to talk about money. Grateful we're here to normalize money conversations and then talk about credit. But once again, I think have that money date. And because that's the thing, you mustn't just look at it once.
Yeah.
Like, along with our diet knowledge, it's it's a cycle. You have to do it all the time.
That's because it's also like obviously for me, I'm like, oh, my fear of someone seeing me messing up or whatever.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But it's like also the more we see it and the more we normalize it, and
it's your muscle, yeah.
Exactly, it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
You can help each other. And that makes a lot of sense.
Because the more we know, the better we do. Well, hopefully we do. And we can learn from each other.
Yeah. So Adele, he has seen mine and I have seen his PDF. What now?
I love that, because now, remember, we're not individuals anymore. We can use this as a team, and we must look and assess where's our position? Is it assets, liabilities? Where are we stronger? And on what behaviors do we need to work to make this worthwhile for our future selves together?
Cool. And that's so beautiful, because off of that, we've been talking about the Gen Xers, we've been talking about millennials, but how are we setting our Gen Zs up for success, right? And we basically want to be able to help them become a society not creating generational debt, but creating generational wealth.
Love that.